Warning. Actonville TV disclaimer. The views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the host, authors, and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of any religious affiliation.
Vanakkam.
Namaste.
Namaskaram.
Sai Ram.
Jai Shri Ram.
Swami Srinamayappa. Govinda, Govinda, Govinda. Welcome everybody. Good evening to everyone. Happy Friday and happy spring day to you. How are you, Pritesh?
I'm okay.
No complaints. Now the reason why we're shouting for Govinda, as you can see, he is on our screen this evening, as he is throughout this this period of the show, as it is Geeta baby. All right, so we got Devon already coming in straight from YouTube. Namaskaram to you, Devon. All right, so for those of you who want to interact with us in studio today, well, let's start in the beginning. We're currently streaming live in the nation south on Actonville TV. This is the Journey Show, the show about exploring Hinduism as a whole. Well, I'm your host, Kimera Heeralal. By my side, we got Pritesh.
Hiramoney.
Hiramoney. I didn't call him Money Honey. Hiramoney. I didn't say it backwards.
Yeah.
Mr. Hiramoney, it's been a long time since you've seen me on the show.
Yeah.
Please greet the viewers and say...
Namaste everyone. Good to be back.
Alright, so welcome back, Mr. Hiramoney.
Thank you.
And well, today we'll be continuing with, well, the Geeta Week Part 2. Yeah, this is episode 2, Part 2, we want to call it. And for those of you who missed yesterday's show, which was episode 80, if you want to backtrack it, please do subscribe to this channel, as you will be able to see everything that we've done. And you can watch everything in order from episode 1 to episode 81, which is today. Alright, so Devanaidu, today we're talking about chapter 2 of the Bhagavad Gita, as you must know. As yesterday you jumped the gun, we were only discussing chapter 1 yesterday. So, but thank you so much for sharing the information that you did. And for those of you who want to interact with us in studio today, you're welcome to do so by commenting at the bottom of the screen. Or if you want to hashtag your comments and views anonymously, you're welcome to do so through our WhatsApp line, which is 074-660-5829, which you'll find at the bottom right throughout the entire show. Alright, so let's get, well, before we get into the Bhagavad Gita, let's open up the show like we open up our prayers. Yes? So let's jump to Lord Ganesha. Before we do anything on the show, let's open up the show with Ganapati and praising Ganapati with Stylers Music Academy. Check them out.
Vinayagane vevvinaye verarakkavalla Vinayagane vetkai tanivippan Vinayagane vinnirkum mannirkum நாதனுமாம் தன்மையினால் கண்ணீர் பணிவல் கனிந்த விநாயகனே வினை தீர்ப்பவனே விநாயகனே வினை தீர்ப்பவனே விநாயகனே வினை தீர்ப்பவனே சிவபாலா கனிவாக அருள்வாயே கஜமுக சிவபாலா விநாயகனே வினை தீர்ப்பவனே விநாயகனே வினை தீர்ப்பவனே விநாயகனே வெவ்வினையே வேழக்கவல்லா விநாயகனே வேட்கை தணிவிப்பான் விநாயகனே விண்ணிற்கும் மண்ணிற்கும் நாதனுமாம் தன்மையினால் கண்ணீர் பணிவில் கனிந்த
Jai Ganesha! What a beautiful performance by Asylum's Music Academy Durban. Well, we're praising him and worshipping Lord Ganesha as we open up the show, ladies and gentlemen. Wow! Okay, looking at the comment section, can I just say I greet you all in the name of Hinduism. Well, welcome to the show, Vishnudevan Murli. Vanakkam, Namaste, Namaskaram, Sairam, Jai Shri Ram, Sovyesar Namayappa. Okay, welcome. So welcome to Vishnudevan. Thank you, Devanaidu, for sharing all of that information that you have just done. I appreciate it. For those of you who are just watching the show, don't feel like commenting. It's okay for now. Okay? But don't forget, if you are watching the show for the very first time, we'd like you to like, share, and subscribe to this channel if you haven't done it already. Alright, so we are talking about the Bhagavad Gita, right? Okay, before you even deliver any facts or notes or anything on the show, let's be honest. Did you ever open that book?
To be honest, like I didn't open the book, but like I remember when I was like small, like in primary school.
Yeah.
We used to go to the Ramakrishna.
Okay.
Yeah, so they shouldn't like really I won't say really, they should talk like what's the importance in that book, you know,
Okay,
like what's the
okay.
moral of it, you know.
But not actual,
actual
verses, I say.
Or else I wouldn't have
Slokas, but I say verses.
Yeah, or else I wouldn't have came home. Because there's so many verses in that book and chapters and all that.
Alright, ladies and gentlemen, so for those of you who just joined today's show, we started the week with Geeta week, right? And yesterday we started off with chapter 1. Obviously, every book will start at chapter 1. So we're talking about the Bhagavad Gita. Like, you know, you get the Christians have their Bible and the Muslims have their Quran. Now we're talking about the Bhagavad Gita. Now the Bhagavad Gita, for most people that don't know, just a quick recap of yesterday or pieces of it. The Bhagavad Gita, often referred to as the Gita, is a 700 verse Hindu scripture, okay, which is a part of the epic Mahabharata. And it forms the chapters 23 to 40 of book 6 of the Mahabharata, called the Bhishma Parva. Also, the work is dated to the second half of the first millennium BCE, and it is considered, or should we say typically of the Hindu synthesis, it is considered one of the holy scriptures of Hinduism. Now, the Bhagavad Gita is set in a narrative framework of dialogue between the Pandava prince Arjuna and his charioteer guide Krishna, an avatar of Lord Vishnu. So at the start of the Kurukshetra war between the Pandavas and the Kauravas, Arjuna despairs, thinking about the violence and death the war will cause in the battle against his kin, and becomes emotionally preoccupied with a dilemma. So now, before we go further, because I'll end up back in chapter 1, that was yesterday's show, episode 80, guys. Today, we are doing chapter 2 of the Bhagavad Gita. Please interact with us in studio today if you have your views, your comments or facts. Drop a comment at the bottom of the screen. Please do it like summarized if you can, as this is only a 1 hour show. We've got Ria Thierry coming in. Vanakkam Auntie Thierry. Let's say Vanakkam Auntie Ria Thierry. Miss Thierry, is it Mrs.? Alright, Ram Ram, she says Ram Ram. You know what's a funny story about that? She went to India, Auntie Ria, and she says when she was walking around India, these people were greeting her.
Everyone.
Every single one of them. Antilia, please can you share with us where was this in India where they were all like Ram? Because in case people think we're mocking the religion or the culture, you know. All right, but as we're getting to that, let's cut to Dr. P.K. Maestri, everybody, from the MSK Temple in the Nature South, and take a look at what he has to say about the Bhagavad Gita, Chapter 2.
Good evening, the viewers of Acton World TV. Actually, Acton World FM and TV station. Tonight, we're going to continue our discussion during this great week called the Gita Week. Yesterday, there was a summation, and tonight, we're going to continue into Chapter 2. But before that, we had a message from the South African Hindu Mahasabha, and in particular, Justice Ashwin Trikhamji. He says Gita Week starts on the day after Shravan Purnima, that's Raksha Bandhan, and continues until one day after Krishna Ashtami, generally lasting for 7 days and nights. He says the significance of the festival to Hinduism is the building up to Krishna Ashtami. Devotees engage in spiritual activities, the singing of bhajans and kirtans, that's devotional songs in praise of God, reading and discussing the Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita are some spiritual activities that devotees engage in, preparing for the auspicious moment of Lord Krishna's appearance. For 7 days prior to the auspicious moment of midnight of the appearance of the Lord, devotees are engaged in creating the right mood and atmosphere for the appearance of the Lord. In many temples in South Africa, the reading and the studying of the Bhagavad Gita takes place. How to observe the practice? Each evening from the day after Raksha Bandhan to a day before Krishna Ashtami, devotees perform deity worship, sing bhajans and kirtans in temples. The temple pandit or an expert on the Bhagavad Gita will lead the singing of verses from the Bhagavad Gita and explain the sections that is read. I thank you, Ashwin Trikhamji, for those wonderful words, which I'm sure the viewership of Actonville FM and TV station will appreciate. So in the Gita, God is the Supreme Self. Lord Krishna says, I am the Supreme Lord who upholds the three worlds, pervading them, and who remembers all his deeds, teachings and incarnations. Incidentally, by the way, Krishna also prays for Lord Shiva. Krishna, the Bhagavad Gita, is a God who reveals his true self, not the physical form we know of Krishna, but the being that embodies all existence. Is Krishna real? Yes. Coins were found of Krishna and Balaram in 1500 BC in the west coast of Gujarat in a place called Dwarika. So there were coins. When they excavated the land in that area, they found these coins. Also, it had a buffalo. It had Krishna, it had Balaram, who was his brother, and it had a depiction of a buffalo. Did you know Mahatma Gandhi in 1888 read the Bhagavad Gita in London, comprising of some 700 pages? The verses of the Bhagavad Gita 745. The Song of God is the Bhagavad Gita. It's an episode recorded in the great Sanskrit poem of the Hindus Mahabharata. That's book number 6, and from chapters 23 to 40. Jyotisar is where Krishna read the Gita, the preachings of Gita to Arjuna, some 5,000 years ago, under a banyan tree. And just one more information, in 1492, the Gita is kept in the Balsian Library in Oxford, which is a part of London in the UK. Not in India. in 1492. It's kept in a library in Oxford. Let us come to chapter 1 of the Gita. It portrays Arjuna's despair in seeing the battlefield. It sets the scene when the two armies, the Kauravas and the Pandyans, are in action. One quote from chapter 1, it says, "The trust of a seeker is the ability to approach life with open-mindedness of a child." One of the quote chapter 1 of the Gita. That's a slight summary. You had the details of chapter 1 last night. Let's do a quick summary of chapter 2, which has 10 shlokas. For today's viewership, let us see how far we can go with the topic. Chapter 2, at the end of chapter 1, we saw Arjuna was disillusioned and miserable. Bhagwan did not even utter a word in the entire chapter 1. While Arjuna was lamenting, thereby underlining the importance of listening without interrupting or getting judgmental. We're well aware, Arjuna is one of the brothers in the Pandava kingdom. The second chapter of the Bhagavad Gita is called Sankhya Yoga, which means the number, and yoga means union. Hence the word Sankhya Yoga means the union of numbers. The numbers are with regard to the number of realities and are present in existence. So they are with regard to the numbers of realities that are present in existence. So it deals with the union or combination of the number of hidden realities which manifest the essential reality. The second chapter of the Bhagavad Gita covers the following aspects. The first 10 verses describes Arjuna's mind and his emotional state. So finally Arjuna surrenders to the Lord and seeks his guidance. That's in verse 2.7. We are now dealing in chapter 2, and we're going to come to chapter 2, shloka 1 in a few lines. Krishna makes Arjuna to recognize the reasons for his unsteady mind and explains how he can cultivate using his intellect. We come to the first shloka. It's called 2.1, the shloka, and all the shlokas are given in Sanskrit. The 2 lines are in Sanskrit. So we are going to concentrate on the meaning of the Sanskrit lines. So the first shloka means, Sanjaya said, seeing Arjuna full of compassion and grief-stricken, his eyes brimming with tears, Madhusudana spoke, Arjuna is a mighty warrior, and tears in his eyes of a mighty warrior was unsightly. The philosophical way of looking at this is, when one's eyes are full of tears, the vision is blurred and obstructed, and thus it refers here to Arjuna's inability to see the situation with a clear perspective. As here to Arjuna's inability to see the situation with a clear perspective, he was duty-bound to fight, and desisting from the battle was due to his ignorance. The use of Madhusudana in this verse to address the Lord is significant. This shows that Arjuna is seeking help from the Lord to destroy the demon of his ignorance and misunderstanding, just like the Lord destroyed demon Madhu. The second shloka, again, we interpreting those 2 lines as interpreted to us by the great Prabhupada. It means Bhagwan said, my dear Arjuna, you have these impurities that come upon you. They are not all befitting a man who knows the progressive values of life. They do not lead to higher planes, but to infamy. So the meaning of the term Bhagwan is explained by the father of the Vedas as the Supreme Personality who possesses all 6 Kalyanas, namely knowledge, strength, sovereignty, infinite power, courage, splendor, auspicious qualities. Bhagwan also possesses infinite compassion and is easy to assess. And I thank you.
Dr. P.K. Maestri from the Meenakshi Sundareswara Koval, Indonesia South in Extension 1, yeah? Alright, thank you guys so much for interacting with us in studio today. And thank you, Dr. P.K. Maestri, for sharing your wisdom with us, with explaining in his way, should I say in layman's terms, what chapter 1 of the Bhagavad Gita actually has to say or mean. So thank you so much for that, Doctor. We appreciate it. Okay, so we asked Auntie Ria that's coming in through YouTube. Where did she get Ram from?
Yeah.
She says, laugh out loud, all of Rajasthan, all states from Delhi down to Ajapur, back up. And they back up another route via Agra back to Delhi. Stayed in every state, so we were greeted with respect. Mom and I road tripped like legends. Nice one. Alright, okay, so namaste Kimera, good evening all, thank you so much Nishi. I think the director should put all the comments up on the screen. We got Auntie Ria coming in, namaste to Nishi, and then we got Hemana Anagram saying namaste Nishi. Also, Haman Anagram also said namaste Kimera, I did see that earlier, sorry about that. And then we've got Ria and Devon, commenting. Thank you so much guys. Okay, so all of the comments, we'll ask the director to put them up on the screen if they are too much to handle. Alright, so before we get to another teaching, or before we continue with the Bhagavad Gita chapter 1, let's take a look at Nishad Mehru and Neville Chitalal performing for us Bole Bole Hanuman.
Putra Hanuman ki O bole bole Hanuman bolo bhakto siya Ram Shri Ram ke charanon mein bande bigre kaam bole bole Hanuman bolo bhakto siya Ram Shri Ram ke charanon mein bande bigre kaam bole bole Hanuman bolo bhakto siya Ram. उसकी शोभा है विष्णु में उसकी शोभा है मोहन सी उसकी शोभा है विष्णु में उसकी शोभा है मोहन सी तुलसी ने जब शीश झुकाया धनुष बनी कन्हैया की बंसी राम की माया राम की जाने कर everybody बोले बोले हनुमान बोले भक्तों सिया राम श्री राम के चरणों में बंदे बिगड़े काम बोले बोले हनुमान बोलो भक्त सिया राम कब लोगे हमरी खबरिया हो बजरंग बली हो बोलो कब लोगे हमरी खबरिया हो बजरंग बली कब लोगे हमरी खबरिया हो बजरंग बली कलयुग एक पल पीछा न छोड़े रामा पीछा न छोड़े कलयुग एक पल पीछा न छोड़े रामा पीछा न छोड़े पग पग पाप की गठरिया हो बजरंग बली पग पग पाप की गठरिया हो बजरंग बली ओ बोलो कब लोगे हमरी खबरिया हो बजरंग बली कब लोगे हमरी खबरिया बजरंग बली कब लोगे हमरी खबरिया हो बजरंग बली रामा से आए और सीता और सरस्वती और लक्ष्मी और हनुमंता से आए नाचत आए गणपति अनंत राजे गोविंद राजे नाचत आए गणपति अनंत राजे गोविंद रामा भी आए लक्ष्मण भी आए रामा भी आए लक्ष्मण लक्ष्मण भी आए, पार्वती और सीता सती नचत आए आए, नाचत आए गणपति अनंत राजे गोविंद राजे, नाचत आए गणपति अनंत राजे गोविंद आए। हनुमान भी आए और हनुमान भी आए, हनुमान भी आए और हनुमान भी आए, हनुमान भी आए, हनुमान भी आए, हनुमान भी आए संग सती अनंत राजे गोविंद राजे, नाचत आए हनुमंता नरन राजे गोविंद आए, नाचत आए हनुमंत आनंद राजे गोविंद आए। बजरंग बली ओ बजरंग बली ओ बजरंग बली, ओ बजरंग बली, ओ बजरंग बली। ओ बोले बोले हनुमान बोलो भक्तों सिया राम, श्री राम के चरणों में बंधे बिगड़े काम। बोले बोले हनुमान बोलो भक्तों सिया राम, श्री राम के चरणों में बंधे बिगड़े काम। बोले बोले हनुमान बोलो भक्तों सिया राम। बोले बजरंग बली की, पवन पुत्र हनुमान की। ओ बोले बोले हनुमान बोलो भक्तों सिया राम, श्री राम के चरणों में बंधे बिगड़े काम। बोले बोले हनुमान बोलो भक्तों सिया राम, श्री राम के चरणों में बंधे बिगड़े काम। बोले बोले हनुमान बोलो भक्तों सिया राम। Okay, Nival is catching the powers. He's catching the powers. Feeling the Lord tonight. Before I leave, I would love nothing more than if we could all sing the chorus of this song together. Sing from our hearts, sing with devotion, sing with love, and sing as you are proud of our culture, as we are proud to be Hindus, we are proud to be Guyanese. You guys ready? We're gonna sing Bole Bole Hanuman together, the chorus. You all ready? 1, 2, 2, 1, 2, 3. Bole Bole Hanuman, Shri Ram ke chalno mein bande. We need to hear them. We need to hear them. The band and you all. We need to hear you. You all ready? 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Sing. Bole Hanuman, Shri Ram ke. सिया की, पवन पुत्र हनुमान की, गयाना हिंदू धार्मिक सभा की।
Jai Shri Ram, Jai Bolo Hanuman ki. Very beautiful performance and delivery of Nishada Mayur and Nival Chitala. This was actually in India, right? Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you guys for interacting on the chat line. We appreciate it as it helps our channel to grow. Alright, for those of you who need to know or must know why Jai Shri Ram first before Jai Bolo Hanuman ki, let me teach you something that I learned from our gurus. Okay, now before you praise Hanuman, you must call Ram first. Otherwise, he won't listen. Now, where you can learn this life lesson, okay, and accept what I'm informing you and telling you, because a lot of people, they fast for Hanuman, they pray to Hanuman Baba, but they don't understand you have to first call Ram.
Ram, yeah.
You have to. Otherwise, Hanuman Baba won't hear you. Now, where you can actually get this information, this factual information, check out this movie called Maruti Meredos. Beautiful movie. I watched it twice. Once in full Hindi and then with the captions at the bottom, so I could understand the whole movie. It was lovely. All right, ladies and gentlemen, as we're educating you and teaching you about, well, it is Geeta week, by the way, and we're talking about the Bhagavad Gita chapter 2, but we'll get back to it straight after this commercial break.
Vanakkam.
Namaste.
Namaskaram.
Sai Ram.
Jai Shri Ram.
Swami Mayappa. Goinda, Goinda, Govinda. Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to the show. As well, we are still talking about, as it's Geeta week, we're talking about the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2. Okay, don't look at your notes, don't look at your research. What do you know about this? Since I think you saw a little bit of yesterday, chapter 1, right?
Yeah.
From Shashi Gosain and Dr. P.K. Mestri. What is your take to the next level, or do you want to see what she has to say first and then give your take or your opinion or your views?
I'll give my opinion, right? Like,
Okay.
People can quote me if I'm wrong. Like, as I said, I went to the Ramakrishna, this is what they tell us. So what I know about Gita, right, is about just this big war that happened between two families.
Okay.
Families were fighting. So I'm not sure if that's correct. If families were fighting, that's what they told us, families.
they
and
told
then
you this.
and then Lord Krishna intervened, and they didn't want the families to fight, you know. Yeah, so like, yeah.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to share your views, your thoughts, and your wisdom on chapter 2 of the Bhagavad Gita, as we're doing each chapter for Gita week, it's not possible to cram the whole Bhagavad Gita into one show. So let's invite Shashi Gosain to join us on our screen today, all the way from London, and she is talking about the Srimad Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2.
Namaste, I'm Shashi Gosain. So now we're on to the second chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. And it's perhaps one of the most important chapters in the book because it goes through the key elements, the key messages that Lord Krishna wants to convey to us. It gives a practical and spiritual guide to living life correctly. So in the first chapter, we saw Arjuna completely immersed in grief caused by attachment and delusion. And in his panic state, he just wants to withdraw from the war and go home. So the second chapter is opened by Sanjay, who is having a conversation with Dhritarashtra. Sanjay opens this chapter giving a vivid description of Arjun, his state of confusion, grief, and actually crying. And this gives Dhritarashtra a glimmer of hope for his sons. Krishna uses very tough words to get Arjuna out of this state of panic. He tells him that this is not the time to think about sorrow or whether this is right or wrong or whether he should have done the war at all. He tells him to get out of this confusion and look for this higher planes of intelligence. So Arjuna slowly calms down and starts opening about logic and understanding and reasoning. Arjuna is confused, to fight or not to fight. And this is a fundamental question that has led to the whole message in the Gita. Arjuna finally realizes that his mind has been thrown off balance due to attachment. And he's asking for Krishna's guidance of how he should now conduct himself. So at this stage, Arjun becomes a Shishya and Krishna becomes the Guru. So Shishya-Guru's relationship has been set up and the stage is set for the actual message of Gita. So Sri Krishna at this stage gives a slight smile because now he knows it's the time to deliver the sermon for which he was there in the first place. Arjuna is stuck with grief on one side and trying to display logic on the other side, a state of confusion. And this shows us that logic and grief cannot go together. We have to reason ourselves. So this is how we start. Krishna tells Arjuna that there is no need to grieve for the living or the dead. Death is inevitable. Appreciate the living. So Krishna ji instructs Arjuna that to assess any life situation, you should have logic and reason and not to be swayed by emotion. So Krishna says all of us are timeless and eternal. We've always existed in the past and we shall exist in the future. Now, according to physics, matter cannot be created or destroyed and it only undergoes from one change to the other. We all know that through physics. So this is a fundamental science law which has been laid down in the Bhagavad Gita. And this is what Hinduism is all about. The body is born, goes through changes, through childhood, through youth, to old age, and then eventually perishes. So although the body has changes, but the body dweller or the Atma which is inside us remains constant. It's been there even before we were born, and will continue once the actual body perishes, but the Atma stays constant and takes on a new body. So this is another very fundamental rule of Hinduism, that the body dies, the Atma doesn't die. Your eternal essence, and that's your internal being, your body dweller, doesn't die. So Arjuna asked Krishna, how do we get the wisdom of seeing this eternal essence? How do we live? And Krishna replies that life is a series of events. It's a series of experiences that come, exist temporarily, and then perish. You don't have the same experience throughout your life. You have a cycle of experiences, and there's a different meaning every time. And the person who can stay steadfast throughout these ups and downs of life is the one that is called Dhira, the enlightened one. So Krishna tells to Arjuna that he should not think that the body is him. He should associate himself with the Atma, or the body dweller, which will never die, and he can't kill any other Atma, so there's no need for grief. So this is a very fundamental point that we are reminded throughout Gita. So Krishna reminds Arjuna that any material body, including the human body, goes through 6 different stages in life. So it's born, and then it exists, changes, then grows, then decays, and then eventually perishes. But the Atma, or the eternal essence, doesn't change. It just remains constant. And so even when it perishes, because it's going to be there forever, there is no need to grieve. And this message he keeps giving to him, so that to get him out of that state of just delusion and grief. After having used logic in his teachings, Krishna then resorts to a tool of persuasion, of emotion. And he persuades Arjuna to carry out his duty, or the Swadharma. Krishna reminds Arjuna that as a true warrior, he should be looking forward to fighting the mighty army of the Kauravas. And that's his duty. And when you shirk your duty, it is absolutely a sin under cosmic law. Krishna reminds him that everyone will be talking about his infamy, his condemnation, and the shame that he brought. And what is a bigger sorrow for a warrior to get this kind of abuse? Krishna says if you're killed, you will get heaven, and if you win, you'll enjoy the earth. So take action, engage in war, and under no circumstances can there be no action. There can be no inaction. And this is also another philosophy that we have to believe. We have to take action or do our karma. And this actually concludes the first part of the teachings. And this is called Sankhya Yoga, which is the relationship of the body with the Atma. So this concludes his first lesson that he wants to teach Arjuna in how to actually deal with the situation he is at the present. So the first part is called the discipline of knowledge. And the second part is called the discipline of action, or Karma Yoga. And this is actually a practical toolkit of how we should deal with situations that we come across now. And there are 5 fundamental points, or called Buddhi Yoga, that Krishna ji tells us, and they are: reduce the quantity of unnecessary thoughts of materialism. Slowly improve the quality of your thoughts. Be mindful of what we are thinking. Reduce any thought that demonstrates extreme attachment or hatred towards any object. For example, love, hate, joyful, sorrow, pleasure, painful. Stop worrying about acquisition and preservation. Perform actions focusing on the present moment without attachment to the result of action. Krishna ji says that once our thoughts become high quality, we are ready for spirituality. We need less external stimulation and entertainment to keep us happy. Another very fundamental point, which is elaborated further on in other chapters. Krishna ji says that you can choose your action but not the result. The result depends on laws of action and other unexpected things that can happen at the same time. And you can just hope for the best, but should be prepared for the worst. And this holds true in everything we do in life. When one acts with this understanding, success and failure will lose the capacity to shake him in any way. But action has to be taken, and this is the skill in action. So if one maintains this equanimity in mind, the actions become more perfect because you're not distracted, you have your goal, and there is absolutely no need to worry for the result. And automatically, because you're so focused, the result will be more beneficial than if you were distracted. A simple phenomena, but sometimes we forget this. A tranquil mind will not get distracted by outside stimuli, but instead will start looking within ourselves, within the Atma. And this is the self-knowledge which will liberate us from this entanglement of birth and death. And this thinking is called Param Viragya. It's a state of equanimity, a state of steady wisdom, which is so important that sometimes we forget when we are in our panic situations. And it's a toolkit that Krishna ji has reiterated for us even today. So Arjun asked Krishna, what does this person look like, the one who's got this self-knowledge, or what we call the Sthita Prajna? How does he walk, sit, talk? And because he was a practical man, he's a warrior, he wants to actually see a physical representation so he can start emulating it, copying him. And that he thought was the perfect way of actually learning what Krishna ji is trying to tell him. So Krishna ji replies that when an individual gives up all desire that enter his mind and is self-satisfied within himself, that person is got steady wisdom. He's independent of the world to be happy. He's happy within himself. He's free from all attachments, hatred, desire, fear, elation, depression. And though he's living in the same world like everybody else, he's happy within himself no matter what is happening around him. And to him, the wise man is the one that sees the Atma at all times, not only in himself, but in everyone around him. So Arjuna asks, how can he remain steadfast when one can get dangerous thoughts and dangerous actions happening? And Lord Krishna says, you should act like a tortoise. A tortoise has got a shell and when they see danger. And he says, if you can withdraw into a mind and just shut down and just don't look at the danger, you'll be free from it. So this tortoise is something that is used as an analogy in a lot of Hinduism, that it lets us be within ourselves without having the external stimuli really affecting us because of the hard shell it has. And he says the same, that we should just withdraw into our own selves and bring our intellect and our reasoning before us and shut out all the negative thoughts. And then once the danger has gone and once the thoughts have subsided, you can start looking at the whole world around you as it is, and not be clouded with your judgment, with your delusions, or with whatever the negative thoughts are going in your mind. Krishna says, the person whose mind and senses are under his control is devoid of attraction or revulsion. He moves with tranquility and his sorrows are destroyed. He will feel joyful all the time and his mind becomes steady, and something that will give a lot of peace and what we call the equanimity. Krishna ji says that an individual whose mind and senses are not controlled, he cannot have a focused intellect, he cannot have a focused mind, and he cannot then meditate. And if you can't meditate, you cannot have peace. So how can you be happy without peace? A very fundamental point. Krishna ji gives the comparison of a man's mind to an ocean. An ocean is unaffected by how many rivers are coming in, whether they are clean, dirty, fast, slow. And similarly, a wise man's mind is independently full, and it is undisturbed by good or bad experiences. Anything that's happening around him does not affect the wise man's mind, senses, or intellect. And that is what was so important in this whole second chapter. This is what he was leading up to. So this concludes the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita. But I would still like to go back to the four main fundamental points that Krishna ji has taught us in this. The first one was informing Arjun that his logic and reasoning was incorrect. Second, explaining the correct logic and reasoning to Arjun. Third, providing practical guidance and implementing the correct logic and reasoning. 4, describing the attributes of a person who actually follows these teachings. Amazing, isn't it? Even affects us today. Well, thank you very much. This is Shashi Gosai, Simple Hinduism. I'll be bringing chapter 3 next. See you.
Shashi Gosai all the way in London explaining to us the Bhagavad Gita chapter 2 so well. Isn't she so cute? I've never seen such a big bindi before. Yeah, she's so cute and her smile is so loving you want to listen to her. I think she did very well. Alright guys, as we're going to keep you well entertained while we educate you, we have Radhe Govind Gavo, and the person performing for us today is Vandana Naran from Manchester Hills, Johannesburg. Govinda, Govinda, Swami Saranamayappa. Why have we done this, ladies and gentlemen? As it is, well, she is praising Krishna with her own original track, which you just heard, and therefore we had to lead to his father. And yes, you are looking at the Swami Ayyappan temple, not in Pretoria, Mr. Naidu. It is in Rasmia. Yeah, in the Bundus. It's quite beautiful. I say Bundus because it's like it's a bush, but it's beautiful, so I'll call it the Bundus. All right, Angelia coming in to say, lovely show, man. Sitting in the dark, load shedding, hungry to shame. No, man, come home. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to do the 108 principles of the value system from the Tirukkural, which is a lesson we teach you every day when we come back.
Vanakkam.
Namaste.
Namaskaram.
Sai Ram.
Jai Shri Ram.
Swami Saranamayappa. Govinda, Govinda, Govinda. Welcome back, everybody. All right, it's come to that time of the show where we have to teach you one lesson from the Tirukkural every single weekday. As that, well, we only stream Monday to Friday. And today's lesson from the 108 principles of the value system from the Tirukkural is sitting at number 58. Let's check it out.
Today's lesson from the 108 principles of the value system from the Tirukkural is number 56. Know the proper time for your words and actions.
I think we done this lesson yesterday. I think our director, we did do this yesterday because I spoke about it yesterday, knowing the appropriate time and action. We're supposed to do number 58. The test persons with whom you wish to associate and then trust them. But it's okay, we'll do that again on Monday. Okay, you want to do it again? Okay, so director had a bit of a slip of the buttons there on his fingers. Sorry about that, guys. Let's look at the 108 principles of the value system from the Tirukkural today at number 58, guys. Let's take a look.
Today's lesson from the 108 principles of the value system from the Tirukkural is number 58. Test persons with whom you wish to associate and trust them.
Here you go. I think it's straightforward. Test persons with whom you wish to associate and then trust them. Yeah. All right, for those of you who need a guru to do or perform specific services for you, his name is Guru Indresan. So wherever you might be in the country or globally, as he told us, I'm not sure if he was joking, but Guru Indresan is available for your Jandagam or your astrological readings known as your Panjagam. Don't forget your Navagraha Shantis. If you need him, you can call him or WhatsApp him. He does house prayers, business prayers, car prayers, temple and whole weddings. Not forgetting your ceremonies like your 16 days and your 1 year, your Janda prayers, your auspicious Hawans, as well as your Kumbha Abhishekams. If you need to contact Guru Indresan, you can drop him a WhatsApp or call him on 081 325 0115. Well, Mr. Hiramoney, that's all the time we have for today.
Yeah.
All right, Pritesh Hiramoney, everybody. From myself, Kimera Heeralal.
Vanakkam.
Namaste.
Namaskaram.
Sai Ram.
Jai Shri Ram.
Swami Saranamayappa. Govinda, Govinda, Govinda. Good night, everyone.